Our services. Our jobs. Our lives.
Our developmental service system has already absorbed ongoing massive cuts and has had to implement dramatic changes in the Latterman Act service delivery in the past 3 years alone. We oppose the proposed $200 million reduction to the 2012 Department of Developmental Services budget. We support the sunset of the 4.25% reduction to operations and purchase of services. What is the impact of over $1 billion savings since 2008 and 2009? Reduced eligibility for services for infants and toddlers, individuals with milder forms of intellectual and developmental disabilities, increased cost for families through creation of family cost participation program and annual family program fee. Services are more limited. Whole categories of service have been suspended, capped, or eliminated. Payment reduction, which was to be temporary, has continued for 3 years and increased last year from 3% to 4.25%, on top of ongoing rate freeze for service providers. Years of unallocated reductions and added mandates have had a compound effect upon our clients and families, increasing the administrative demands upon regional centers and seriously eroded the safety net provided by the developmental services system. 4.25% payment reduction has been applied to both purchase of services, service providers, and operations budget, which includes a regional center's direct services. Our caseload and administrative workload has grown, impacting on our ability to serve our clients and families. The center now serves more people, but have less money overall, creating a doubly negative effect on those served. We worry about the quality of services as service providers struggle to stay afloat after years of cuts. We remain committed to continuing to increase federal revenues and reducing reliance upon state institutions. Regional centers continue to bring in additional federal, Medicaid, and other federal waiver funding to California, adding additional administrative workload requirements. Unfortunately, as our general fund budget is reduced, we lose federal matching dollars. Each dollar cut can cause up to $2 of actual lost funds. Services in the community are most cost-effective and less restrictive. However, ongoing funding reductions have destabilized our system of services in the community. Clients and families with developmental disabilities have already made significant sacrifices and cannot absorb additional reductions without jeopardizing their health and safety. The regional center serves approximately 250,000 clients. Of these, around 100,000 are adults over the age of 21. Nearly 3/4 of the regional center's clients either live with family or in their own residence. When people are not able to live on their own, owing to a lack of supports and services, the cost for the state can be 5 times higher.
Please don't cut our services.
Please don't cut our services.
I've been working for the Charles River for 4 years. When I get lots of money, I would like to take my parents to a cruise.
We'd like to continue the services so that Sergio can continue being value added in his community, as well as other people throughout the state with disabilities, to be value added to their communities and provide that contribution.
Hi, my name is Eva Dalton, and I work at MC Electronics, and I've been receiving services from San Andreas since 1994. Please continue supporting us and the little kids and adults and all their families. And we need the services, and we need your support. Thank you.
What is important exactly doesn't take away our funding, because without the funding, people like me will not be able to exist with the kind of life I live or want to live.
if the state continues to make cuts, you know, that affects San Andreas. We're not going to be able to have all the employment we have and provide all the, you know, support to our fellow community members.
Think of what it's like to be us. Would you like to have your service taken away?
When the government is looking to make cuts, that takes services directly away from the families who need them most and the children who benefit from those services.
Dear legislators, please don't stop supporting us because we need it very badly.
Good morning. Buenos dias. Good morning. Let's thank everybody who spoke on this video because they spoke from their hearts. Let's thank them. My name is Santi Rogers. I'm director of San Andreas Regional Center. I have a great life. I have a great life. I have a great life because I had great parents. I was born in Fresno, California. Anybody else born in Fresno, California? Were you willing to raise your hand if you're born in Fresno, California? The purpose of that is that I was born to a family, like many of you were born to a family, that had citizenship as an important part of their life. They got to practice it, and part of practicing it was being involved in your community. Today, we're here always to celebrate a great example of what activism, celebration of people's lives, and here to speak for justice results in. We're here today to talk about a great piece of public policy that came from a diverse population. It's called the Lanterman Now Developmental Disability Services Act. Raise your hand if you know what that act is. Raise your hand. Want to look around? Okay. For 3 of you who don't know what this act is, this is a great piece of civil rights policy. This is an extraordinary piece. In 1965, 1966, when mothers went to the Capitol and tried to raise a very important issue with the legislature. Do you think they were successful immediately? They were not. They were not. What was it like in 1965, 66? Those of us who were out of college could tell you, but I prefer not to share my experiences. The serious part was that a lot of things were happening relative to citizens asking questions about what direction should we be going in and how do we treat each other. These moms knew it. This wasn't 100 years ago. They were put together from a speaker. His name was Jess Unruh. And this is the way I know how old the crowd is. Excuse me, when you were born. How many knew who Jess Unruh is? Yay. If you're left-handed, you can raise both hands. Okay. He was, in fact, a significant leader within the Assembly legislature. If you go into one of the Assembly biggest conference room, you will see a picture of Mr. Unruh. The important part is he had the wisdom of meeting those moms and asking those moms to talk to 2 legislators. And one of those legislators was named Frank Lanterman. Mr. Lanterman was from Southern California. I think in those days, because I was there, when you said somebody was conservative, you were talking about them from a fiscal perspective. He was definitely conservative based on his own words. And when he put them together, he also introduced them to another legislator, Jerome Waldy, also known as Jerry Waldy. Those 2 gentlemen put together from that wisdom of those moms an opportunity for their sons and daughters to have choices in their life other than just one choice. And what eventuated is an extraordinary piece of public policy. Why I'm mentioning that much to you today, because I think it's really important to know where we came from on this piece of incredible civil rights legislation. And their chant was, we're here to speak for justice. I'm going to be asking you today, as you hear speeches made, to think about that term. Is that outrageous for you to consider, that you too can be here to speak for justice? Are you ready to speak for justice? Are you ready to speak for justice? Good. Hang on, because I'm going to ask you again before you leave, just to let you know. The beauty of the Lanterman Developmental Disability Services Act is based on a concept from those moms of have community participation truly in communities where the people live. It's not a highfalutin idea. It just makes a lot of sense. The diversity of California even makes more sense not only then, but right now as well. The ever-changing, wonderful country state, California. And its diversity makes it really, really a great place to live. They perceived that we wanted to have local influences on how services would be provided. And one way to do that is create, out of these 58 counties, locations that families can go right to. And that law spoke to creating centers, regional centers where those services can be coordinated. Initially, there were not 21 regional centers. Initially, it rolled out the 2 centers, one in the south, it was at what is now called Lanterman, and one in San Francisco Bay Area is called, help me. No, yeah, help me. Oh, yes, Golden Gate Regional Center. Wait till I get the cards and letter on that one. You'll wait and see. Those were the 2 pilots. From those pilots, 6 more regional centers created, and subsequently up to 20, and then East Bay Regional Center as a result of fast growing the East Bay of California. 21 regional centers now serving over 250,000 people, growing in population as the needs of those Californians to be served. Persons, as the law speaks then, who had diagnosis of mental retardation. Persons with autism, cerebral palsy, and epilepsy. Those 3 last categories of eligibility came 3 years after the law was passed into practice. People came, and the lobbying and advocacy has never stopped. The creators of this knew from day one that this was only the beginning in 1968, 69. It would have to continue in perpetuity. In perpetuity. That's how they talked. They were right. We built that on locally based, and each of those regional centers would have a board of directors that are representative of their communities. And today I want to introduce to you, and they're all volunteers, board of director members who are here, who have already served the regional center in San Andreas that covers Santa Clara, Monterey, Santa Cruz, and San Benito counties. 4 California great counties. Mary Gonzalez, where are you, Mary? Raise your hand right here. Thank you. Welcome, Mary. Lee Sternevent, right here. Lee Sternevent, thank you. Troy Hernandez. Troy, brand new on the board, longtime advocate in our community. To my left here, David Forrester. David, welcome here today. I think I got all our active board members that are here. Darcy McCann, past board member, over here. Harvey Wolf and his family, past board member. Ron Kirkish, past board member. Chris Peterson, right in the back there. Chris, good to see you. Robert Faber, where are you, Robert? You're really close. There you are. I want to get Robert to wave his hand. Past board president and longtime advocate and continues that way, Sibby Coxhead. Sibby, right there. Why it's important to understand the power of the Lanterman Act fundamental values is it is served by the people who are receiving the services in many different ways. And once you're involved for life. Not a person in this room doesn't understand that. For those of you who are new to us, I just want to make sure you understand that's a fact. It is not fiction. It is not fiction. As part of this Lanterman Developmental Disability Services Act, we also had a notion that in order to oversee, let's do the same idea and create 13 area boards that would sit in review of the practices for both the people receiving the services and the ones providing the service. Jane Lefferdink, Executive Director, Area Board 7, is with us today. A past board member of Area Board 7, Bob Cross. Where are you, Bob? I know this embarrasses you every time. Okay, hi, Bob. How is this built? On the foundation of the way in which government works in California. It expects all 3 levels of government would be functioning at its highest level. This act came from both the Assembly and the Senate, and today with us we have representatives of our legislators. Why is this called a legislative breakfast? For obvious reasons. We're very fortunate over the 17 years we've been conducting this breakfast, one just like it, a little shorter number of years in Santa Cruz County last Friday. We celebrate that kind of participation. Many of you here, as I introduce these legislators, are known to them because they themselves are active. Before they ran for office, they knew they were going to meet us. Isn't that true? You knew you were going to meet us. You meet families every minute of every day. So it's my pleasure to introduce to you Assemblyman Paul Fong. Stand up. You're coming in a while, Paul. With him is John Kessler. Hi, John. How are you doing? It's our pleasure to reintroduce Assemblyman Richard Gordon, right here. Richard, Assembly member. Anna, I want you to stand up. Anna Coe is staff person. I don't, has Tyler Haskell come in? Oh, you came right up front, Tyler. Wait, Tyler, representing Senator Joe Samedian. Good to see you, Tyler. Thank you for being here. Representing Assembly Member Luis Alejo, Tony Mondragon. Tony? The task we have before us, ladies and gentlemen, is extraordinary. The energy to do advocacy is inherent in every minute of every day of our experience. We never get to go to sleep when it relates to advocacy. We have partners. We let them sleep, then you go and advocate. When you're sleeping, they go and advocate. So today we have the opportunity to hear from people we serve. People who know every minute of every day what their life experience is and what the advantages are provided to us by fellow citizens in the state of California. And to help us through this, Sherry Reynolds, it will be our mistress of ceremony. Thank you, Sherry.
Thank you, Santee. Welcome, everybody, to the 17th Annual Legislative Breakfast. This is quite an event, and I want to thank you all for taking time out of your day to be here. And I want to thank especially the San Andreas Regional Center for sponsoring this event. Let's give them a round of applause here. And for the Service Provider Advisory Committee, who also helped put this event together. So, in honor of April being Autism Awareness Month, I can't help but reflect on the major battle won last year that will benefit thousands of Californians. On October 9th, 2011, Governor Jerry Brown signed Senate Bill 946. The law, which takes effect on July 1st, 2012, requires that health insurance companies cover proven behavioral treatment for autism disorders, behavior therapies like ABA. This important piece of legislation was a hard-fought battle. Big insurance companies with a lot of money and powerful lobbyists did not want to lose this battle. It would mean millions of dollars to them if they did. So they did not go down without a fight, but you know what? They did go down. Why? According to State Senator Steinberg, quote, "This day would have never happened if it were not for the countless families and advocates who had been working tirelessly on this issue for many years. Moms and dads made a difference, advocates made a difference, caregivers made a difference." We'll be actually hearing from an advocate later on in our program. At this time, actually, I'd like to have a show of hands. How many of you in here are family members of a person with a developmental disability? Raise your hand. There's a lot of you in here. What I'd like to say is you are all advocates. And how many of you in here are vendors who provide the services? Ooh, lots of you in here today. That's great. You're all advocates. And how many consumers? Yeah, baby. Yes. Thank you for coming out today. You're all advocates. Yeah, I see you over there. Excellent. Well, all of you are advocates. You're not off the hook. And so the last one, how many of you in here are San Andreas staff? All right. I want to thank you all, San Andreas staff. You've been going through some tough times with these budget cuts too, so let's give them a big thank you round of applause. The state has cut developmental disability budgets significantly over the last few years. The most significant cut that we've sustained is a 4.25% cut. Now, a lot of the vendors are nonprofits, and when you cut 4.25% from a budget that there is no profit margin, where does that money come from? From the consumers, from the quality care. Continuing the state budget cuts may mean that we could be losing vendors, we could be losing service providers, that quality care is in jeopardy. Vendors like respite programs, day programs, independent living programs, in-home behavioral programs, they're all in jeopardy. These budget cuts are cutting to the bone. So while this small insurance battle is won, the war for developmental disability rights is not over. So families and advocates must continue to fight to protect our newfound rights and current funding. We must fight to protect the services for people with developmental disabilities. How do we fight? All of you that raised your hand here today, we're all advocates. That means you have to write letters. You have to meet with your legislators, email them, call them, spread the word, and get your other family members involved. Get your neighbors involved, your friends involved. It doesn't just end with us. We have assembly members here today, but they are two men and need us to help them advocate. The other legislators need to hear from us too. So please get active. If we can win a battle against the powerful insurance companies, we can surely win the war to protect the rights of people with developmental disabilities and prevent more cuts. This is life and death for some of these people. Let your message be clear. Stop the budget cuts to the regional center system and the 4.25% budget cut to rates, and protect our rights for this community. Thank you.
Hi, I am Toby. What's your name?
My name is Melinda, and I'm a principal in San Jose Unified School District. Regional Center helps me in many ways. The first way is that I have a son. His name is Harlan Toby, and he's 3 years old. And when he was born, he had a significant number of things that he needed support and help on. And so San Andreas Regional Center provided him with a teacher, a speech therapist, and an occupational therapist to get him ready so that he could enter school as he goes into kindergarten. But I also have the opportunity to work with San Andreas Regional Center every day as part of my job, because I have a wide variety of students who come through my school who have special needs themselves. And so it's a wonderful wonderful partner to have in the community. Having kids have early intervention and having support services to be successful in school, I think, is one of the most important things. And so I can't imagine the Bay Area without San Andreas Regional Center and without having those early intervention services for infants as they're born and they need support, all the way up through kids who are going through middle school and high school and getting ready to be career ready. It's an essential service here in the Bay Area.
Hi, I am Toby. What's your name?
My name is Allison Stroot. I found out about the San Andreas Regional Center through our speech pathologist here at school. And I called them and they were wonderful. They provided speech therapy for my son. After 9 months of speech therapy, he was actually reassessed and exited out of the program. It was very important because they helped my son to talk. I feel that the early intervention that the San Andreas Regional Center provides is essential. As a classroom teacher, I see students that come through my classroom that have received early intervention services in speech or their other needs. And I see children that should have gotten it early and they didn't. And for those that receive the early intervention services, it helps their elementary school years be more successful. They've come in with the foundation that they really need. For those that don't have the services, they're missing that important foundation, and it compounds as they get into the older elementary grades, and school is much more difficult for those children. Speech services were important, I think, for my son, because it really helped build that early foundation for him. He's going to be much more successful as he goes into elementary school.
My name is Katie Rohrbaugh, and I am at Allen at Steinbeck. I am an RSP preschool teacher. Early intervention is crucial for the majority of all of our students. Well, actually every student that we see. All of them are coming in with some sort of delay, and this is the time to really build up their skills and help them prepare for really the rest of their life.
Hi, my name is Melinda and this is my son Harlan, and I'm here to talk with you a little bit today about the state budget cuts and the cuts that you're considering for education and for special needs students across the state of California. This is my son Harlan, and I have the opportunity to talk with you today not only as a principal in San Jose Unified School District, but as a mother of a San Andreas Regional Center client. My son Harlan, when he was born, he was born with a wide variety of deficits and disabilities, and it was through the extreme effort and love and care and attention that he received through the therapists and the providers who worked with him that he's able to be the little boy that he is today. As you can see, he's sitting here at the table and he's playing with toys and he's doing pretend play, but those were all things that just over a year ago he wasn't able to do. When he was a year old, he wasn't able to roll or walk or actively play with his big sister. When he was almost 2.5, he still was unable to talk due to some hearing loss and some speech deficits, and he's been working intensely with speech therapists through San Andreas Regional Center and now our local school district, and he's a totally different child today than he was a year ago. So thank you for all the support that you put towards schools and through early intervention over the past years, and as you go to look at these cuts, just take the time to consider each individual child and children just like Harlan who are now ready to thrive and learn in kindergarten because of all the earlier intervention that you put into them. Thank you.
Dear Senators and Assembly members, as an early education specialist, this is a crucial time in my students' lives, and these services make them successful for the rest of their life. Please, please consider us and consider all of our needs and make sure that we have students who are able to go out in the world and be successful.
Thank you to Mike Nichols and his crew for putting these videos together. Please stand up, you guys. Take a round of applause. There's Mike, Toby, and Kanan. Yes. I'd also actually like to introduce Jim Bell's representative, Rodney Fu, here today, actually. If you could stand up for everybody, say hi. I get to introduce a lovely woman I've actually had the pleasure of meeting, and she is going to speak to us today as a mom. Alicia Mesa is married for 13 years with 3 beautiful children, Kaylee, 12, Pablito, 10, and William, 8. Kaylee and William are Alicia's two typical children, and Pablito is affected with autism and is on the severe end of the spectrum. Alicia and her family live in Freedom, California, and thanks to the San Andreas Regional Center and the services provided, Alicia and her family are able to stay together and survive. So let's welcome Alicia Mesa.
Good morning. Thank you. My name is Alicia Mesa, and this is my son, Pablito. As you can see, he is very, very handsome, has a beautiful smile. Pablito enjoys listening to country music, Spanish pop, and watching music videos. He especially enjoys Carrie Underwood music videos. Yeah, boys. Pablito is nonverbal, and as many nonverbal children, he gets easily frustrated. A heartbreaking result of these frustrations is self-injurious behavior. He also engages in stereotypy in the form of very loud, almost constant vocalizations. These vocalizations make it really hard to have any peace in the home, and even harder to be out in public. Our dream is for Pablito to care for himself, but as of today, he requires our maximum assistance for dressing, eating, and toileting. For the first 3 years of Pablito's diagnosis, I declined the services offered by the regional center. I suppose that I had talked myself into Pablito's going to overcome this. With ABA interventions, he will grow out of this. But he didn't, and just got harder and harder to care for as he got older. Meanwhile, the regional center, my service manager, or my KISS manager, kept offering services until finally I accepted. I would say it was really hard for me to accept that I needed help. How could I possibly justify needing time away from my son? It made me feel like a bad mother. But I am not only Pablito's mother, I'm also Kaylee and William's mother. I needed to do everything in my power to try and minimize the difficulties they were constantly exposed to. My husband and I also needed time to re-energize so that we could better support each other and our family emotionally. Prior to receiving services from SARC, we were overwhelmed with emotional and physical exhaustion. We went for long periods of times without contacting family or friends, and we avoided all social gatherings. Our children, Kaylee and William, were not able to participate in any after-school activities. We were doing everything we could just to get through the day. Some days were better than others, but we were always exhausted. So much of our time and effort seemed to be going to Pablito because of his many needs. But we were and are very mindful that our other children also have needs. Our family life can often present them with difficulties as well. They were often feeling that what they needed seemed to be going unacknowledged or unmet. Rob and I often felt stretched and unable to meet all the needs of our children. Thankfully, services provided to us by SARC allowed us to focus our attention and rebalance our attention among all our children, as well as giving Pablito all that he needed. Now, thanks to SARC, we can provide Kaylee and William the comfort that they need for the challenges they face as siblings of an autistic brother, as well as meeting all of Pablito's needs. Now, thanks to the respite my family receives, Kaylee and William do their homework in a quiet library. They do their reading in the absence of a hectic and noisy environment. Prior to receiving services, this was not possible. They were often frustrated and stressed out over not being able to effectively study and complete their homework assignments. Thanks to our respite hours, we're able to take our children to movies, and they are both participating in after-school activities. My husband and I get to go on date nights now. Also, thanks to Aspiranet and the wraparound services they provide through SARC, I feel like my family is getting a big hug. Together with their caring and supportive staff, we are starting to work towards helping Pablito be a part of society. I am looking forward to a better life for my son Pablito. A life where he will be able to accompany me to the grocery store. A life where he will sit and watch his little brother's baseball game. A life where we can all someday go to the movies together as a family. Yes, Pablito is flourishing. I have big dreams for Pablito, and thanks to the services provided by SARC, these dreams can one day become our reality. I am grateful Pablito is getting the services and opportunities that will help him to excel and develop and be a part of society. I am also equally terrified by the threat of any cuts to his programs or his services. I realize that these are hard economic times and that many services have already been drastically cut or are being threatened by cuts. Legislators, please don't make any cuts. I am only one voice. We need louder voices. Together, we moms and dads can be loud. Fellow parents, get active. Ask your legislators not to make any more cuts. They are crucial for our families. I hope that the hearts and minds of those who develop and refine programs for people with autism and other disabilities will have the insight and wisdom, compassion to pursue the insight and wisdom and compassion to pursue what these vulnerable people need. Let's ask those who make funding decisions to find creative ways of channeling resources into these programs. I hope and ask they would have a glimpse of the long-term gains from the investment in children like mine, both for them as individuals and for society as a whole. As Frank D. Lanterman said so perfectly, never again will these unfortunate people be ignored by the government. Our children need more legislators like this, more workhorses of the state like him. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Toby. What's your name?
My name is Nick.
How has the Original Center helped you?
Well, it's helped me it's helped me with a lot of things, to communicate with other people, and having autism has made it difficult for me to communicate with people that I haven't, but it's making me a better person. The Regional Center, I just have to say that the Regional Center has helped me a lot through my life.
So why is that important to you?
Well, because I want to reach out to people, and I just want to make friends. That's all I wanted to do. Well, if I didn't have those services, I wouldn't become a musician. I wouldn't have any friends. I wouldn't play music. Well, I would play music, but I don't know which friends to play them to.
Hi, I'm Toby. What's your name?
My name's Nicole Krupp. I'm a respite supervisor with Care at Home, which is a home health care agency located in Campbell. This state budget cuts really affect the Care at Home community as well as the developmental delay community tremendously. These budget cuts are something that really affects our clients because it cuts the benefits that they do receive, which could help with early intervention with autism, developmental delays, things like that. So the budget cuts are a huge impact on our community, not only with the 0 to 3 years of age, but also the school age to up to adulthood.
My name is Becky D'Onofrio. I'm the director of a supported living agency in Santa Cruz, and we have been subject to cuts to our services over the last 2 years, and we've been creative and we've been able to make it work even with the cuts, but we are really determined that any further cuts to our services would be detrimental to the people that we provide services to. We can only be so creative, and we are pretty much at the end of that rope. So I hope that you will think clearly and long about the idea of making any further cuts to services. Thank you.
Mr. Legislator, I feel what you're doing is not really right, cutting programs from people who basically need a direction. Like, we could afford a lot of luxuries in this country. I feel like my parents brought me into this country for a better life, and we have all these luxuries and a lot of things that make this a great nation. And I feel that programs for the physically and learning disabled should be really important and not just tossed aside like anything. Señor legislador, yo pienso que los cortes que quieren hacer es injusto. Yo pienso que la gente con disabilidades debería de tener esos programas, especialmente que ese país tiene muchos lujos, porque mis padres me trajeron a este país para disfrutar de los lujos y todas las bendiciones que lleva, es que hace este país una nación buena y poderosa. Yo pienso que para los deshabilitados físicamente y deshabilitados con deshabilidades de aprender, no deberían de hacer hechos a un lado, deberían de tener los mismos lujos y las mismas oportunidades para salir adelante que todo el resto de la población en ese país.
I just want to tell the legislators that the cuts that they want to do in basic programs for people, for kids with disability, are not fair. As a parent, I've been struggling with my son for so many years, looking for the right program for him, but these cuts are really going to affect the kids with disabilities. So I believe that all the kids have the same opportunities to be successful in this country. Solamente quiero decirles que a los legisladores que todos los recortes presupuestales que quieren hacer para los programas para niños con disabilidades no son justos. Yo como padre de un niño con disabilidad he sufrido o he batallado por muchos años para encontrar el programa adecuado para él y se batalla mucho. Yo creo que todos los niños deben de tener las mismas oportunidades de salir adelante con programas justos en este país.
Supporting people with disabilities is vitally important, because really what we need to look at is finding ways for them to use their abilities. Another important thing to keep in mind is that it may cost a lot now to provide intervention for people with special needs. However, the choice is you can either pay a lot now, or you can pay much, much more later when you have people who are not living to their potential and contributing to society.
The next person we're going to introduce is Eduardo Najara. He was born and raised in Mexico City. Growing up in a community with limited resources, he quickly learned the hardships of life and how crucial it is to make services available to people in need. Motivated at an early age, he attended Universidad Nacional Autónoma de Mexico and earned a BS in psychology, becoming the first in his generation to receive a college degree. He then worked for the Instituto Mexicano del Seguro Social as a social worker. In the desire to continue his expertise in human behavior, he migrated to California. In 2002, Eduardo began part-time employment working as a job coach for Hope Services, while at the same time he worked for Safeway throughout Monterey and Santa Cruz County areas. Despite the contrast between both companies, he was able to incorporate their differences by encouraging incoming and present employees to maintain their careers. In 2007, he became part of the Housing Choices Coalition team as the first bilingual housing coordinator. Since then, he's created the prevention programs, housing development, and educating clients and their families in equal housing opportunities within his county. Let's welcome Eduardo de Najara.
Thank you, Sherry, for that introduction. I want to thank the San Andres Regional Center and the Service Provider Advisory Committee for the invitation here today. As you heard, my name is Eduardo Nájera, and I've been a service provider since 2002. For the past 5 years, I've been a housing coordinator with Housing Choices Coalition. Our agency was funded 15 years ago by a group of parents and service providers concerned about the lack of affordable housing for people with development disabilities. During my time with the agency, I have had the pleasure of helping people and their families get into housing. With the help of my co-workers, we've been able to simplify the process that is affordable housing into a step-by-step program, from Section 8 vouchers to the dream of homeownership. With these services, we have increased the number of clients living independently and in a place of their own. Every placement is an accomplishment for HCC, but our biggest achievement is the education and awareness we bring into the community. Today, I've been given the task to continue that awareness, not just here, but everywhere I go. In the past 10 years, I have experienced how rate freezes and funding cuts have impacted not just our programs, but everybody who provides services for our clients. Every fiscal year brings a new struggle to our clients and their families, making it really difficult for them to receive quality services. Every day, it's also a challenge for our service providers. The demand of providing better services grows each day. In most cases, it takes months just to see a small progress in a case. Sometimes, it feels like we already lost the war and we're just negotiating the surrender. It's moments like this where I feel fortunate enough to have work and learn from service providers who rise over the budget cuts. The kind of service provider who never goes home until the job gets done, because the short hours don't apply when we have clients in need. Today, I want to ask all those service providers to help us take a different approach to these budget cuts. Please help us take the message of prevention to our legislators. If we would have tried this approach 40 years ago, a stand like this would have meant that our clients and their service providers had to carry a sign and protest outside Sacramento for days in order to be heard. Compared to the challenges those service providers had then, this generation has been given more tools than before. With the help of email and social networks, we can contact everybody in the net and bring our cause to them. Today, we're asking that when you go back home or to your workplace, you help us make that phone call, send that email, post that message, and tweet this information to our legislators. Today, in this legislative breakfast, we're calling every service provider. Help us contact the legislators. We need to support Governor Brown's proposal to end the current 4.25% reduction. We need to eliminate the $200 million reduction target. And we need to ask him to fix the trailer bill language, requiring service providers to have annual fiscal reviews. I'm asking only for 15, 20 minutes of your day, so you can tell them the struggles that you go as a service provider every day. Every time we pass an opportunity to let our legislators know how the cuts affect our programs, we lose a part of them. This legislative breakfast is for that. We're calling in every service provider. Help us take that message. We're only asking for 15 or 20 minutes of your day. Thank you.
Thank you, Eduardo, for that message of advocacy to all the service providers. I saw you in here. I saw you raise your hands. I know who you are now. I'm going to hunt you down and make sure that you wrote your letters and sent your emails out. It's really that important.
Hello, I am Toby Ames, and I am here with Assembly Morning. Hello, Assembly Member Morning.
Hi, Toby. Thank you so much for interviewing me today. I'm looking forward to this.
Okay. It is an honor to meet you again. And thank you for your support for people with disabilities. Thank you for fighting to our services.
Well, Toby, again, thank you, and I think you provide a wonderful service to the community by conducting these interviews. I've welcomed the opportunity to meet with you and members of the community in an effort to provide broader education to people who maybe aren't familiar with the community of people living with disabilities, thriving with disabilities, but clearly dependent on continued support from the state of California.
How will this year's budget affect people with disabilities? We will face more cuts.
Well, the last few years, the state of California has faced enormous reductions in the revenues coming into the state since the collapse of the financial industry in 2008. I might mention an unregulated financial industry. We're still suffering the losses in the worst recession since the Great Depression, and it's been necessary in the past budget cycles to make very tough cuts to a broad range of programs, not just disability programs, but education, higher education, safety net programs, Medi-Cal reimbursements. The list goes on and on. And this year, what we're trying to do is to protect the level of cuts to avoid further cuts, because they've gone deep, and as we say in Sacramento, we've cut to the bone, we've cut to the bone marrow, and the next proposed cuts could be wholesale amputations of programs. We want to fight against that, but we have limited options right now given the voting distribution in Sacramento.
So the next person to introduce is Alejandro San Juan. He was born November 14th, 1989 in San Jose, California. He was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome on 1999, and he is a San Andreas Regional Center client since 2004. He graduated from Live Oak High School, and after that he went to Foothill College to attend the Transition to Work program. Right now Alejandro is attending De Anza College. Let's welcome Alejandro de San Juan.
I'm sorry, everybody. Okay. Okay. My name is Alejandro San Juan, and I'm here to explain that the government funds being neglected in the budget cuts. Going around the state is jeopardizing our services probably more than you think. I was born in San Jose, California, right after the 1989 earthquake. And when I started school, I was finally glad to be somewhere where I could learn new skills and be around with people my own age. I started going to special education in 6th grade, and I noticed the difference between general ed classes and those classes is that the teachers are more focused giving it to the student, and their main goals and making sure that the student gets it. Right after all my life of studying and making it to college, I see the programs that are being cut, that they're really like stressing out about their people and about their clients. I'm all for that, and the struggles and the disabled and elderly is making life harder for them with all these cuts. Organizations like San Andreas Regional Center are getting their fund cuts, while lately the workforce is growing and more people are attending these services, creating a double negativity effect, economic, financially, and service-wise. This has been going around for 3 years, and so cuts that were really meant to be temporary last year went from 3% to 4.5%. And this is why I'm here to talk today. Like, I think about all these cuts, and the people's futures are just being put to jeopardy. So when you really think about yourself and about saying, wow, I'm glad to have all these services, and I'm glad to finally make it as any job that you guys might have. You know, think about what did it take to get there, and think about the people that look up to you guys. What will they say if just because they have any services holding them back, and with all these budget cuts not making it possible for them to reach their goal? See, I mean, I'm really proud of the organization I'm in, because it really helped me find my career goal. That's all. Thank you.
My name is Marisa, and Alejandro is my son. My first son. I'm a very proud mom. Alejandro was a very special kid, and he was diagnosed with Asperger in 1999. It was really hard for me to find out, because I didn't know what to do. I tried to find an answers. Since he was diagnosed with Asperger, it seems that I was living in a bubble, just me and my son, trying to find something, trying to find answers. Thanks God I found San Andreas Regional Program. It was like a light at the end of the tunnel. And they start referring us to another programs. And it helps me to understand how to live with this in our life. Because before I was really denying, no, my baby gonna be fine, my angel gonna be fine, this is gonna happen, we're gonna be fine. I found San Andreas, and I found a lot of help. And I'm glad to be one more voice. And I know that a lot of parents can be identified with me. So we really need those programs. Legislators, we really need those programs for our kids, because those kids need to be successful in this country as anybody else. So I'm glad to be part of this organization. I'm glad to be part of the fight, and I want to do something else. Probably it's just a little tiny thing, but it will make a difference. I believe so. Mi hijo es Alejandro San Juan, fue diagnosticado con el síndrome de Asperger cuando él tenía, en 1999. Todo era tan confuso, parece que yo estaba viviendo en una burbuja sin respuestas, hasta que finalmente encontré a San Andreas. Parecía que fue una luz al final del túnel que nos ayudó a encontrar y aceptar la realidad que estábamos viviendo. San Andreas nos refirió a otros programas que realmente ocupábamos y necesitábamos. Yo realmente creo que estos programas son necesarios para nuestros niños, porque ellos necesitan tener las mismas oportunidades que cualquier otro niño para ser exitoso en este país. Lo que Alejandro acaba de decir es que realmente ellos necesitan estos programas, y me da gusto ser una vocecita más y estar luchando para poder mantener estos programas vivos en nuestra comunidad. Estoy muy, muy contenta de, aunque sea hacer algo muy pequeñito, pero poder ayudar a que estos programas continúen. Gracias.
Thank you. Marissa, it's interesting thinking about this small little difference that you want to make, and it made me think of a drop of water, but it takes a lot of drop of water to equal the ocean. The ocean is powerful, and we can be powerful like that if everybody thinks of themselves like Marissa is. And by the way, Alejandro, I think you may have a future in public speaking. You did great. Thank you. The next person we're going to introduce is Assemblymember Rich Gordon. Oh, we just had our late arrival. Okay, excellent. Moving on to introduce Kristen Jacobson. Let me get to that part of my little page here. Kristen Jacobson, before co-founding Autism Deserves Equal Coverage, Kristen Jacobson co-founded the Bay Area Autism Advocacy Group to organize parents to advocate for legislative reform, and led the effort to get autism insurance reform passed in California, culminating in the passage of SB 946 in late 2011. She serves on the steering committee of the Alliance of California Autism Organizations, representing more than 40 autism organizations around the state, and is also a council member on the statewide coordinating council for the Senate's Select Committee on Autism, is the chair of the Bay Area Autism Regional Task Force, and co-chair of its insurance subcommittee. Kristen has testified numerous times before the California Blue Ribbon Commission on Autism and at California legislative panels and hearings. Kristen has a master's in business administration from Stanford and has spent her career in healthcare marketing with a specialty in health insurance reimbursement. Kristen recently co-founded the ASD Insurance Help Yahoo group to assist parents with insurance issues. Let's welcome Kristen Jacobson. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for accommodating my late arrival. This is just in time. This is just in time. I was coming from my son's event at school, and it's always really important to make sure that you take care of your own kids in addition to taking care of the rest of the kids in California. So thank you for indulging me and letting me do that and coming here just in time. I just wanted to say a few words about SB 946 and the incredible group effort that it was to get this very important piece of legislation passed. The only reason this was able to happen, this is something that the autism community has been working on for 6 years, and all the stars really had to align to be able to make this happen. The insurance lobby is very, very strong, and they resisted this very, very heavily. But when the community can come together and unite on all fronts, that's when you can get this kind of change. So this was a really, really unified effort across the state. Senator Steinberg, we obviously had an incredible champion who carried this bill for us. He was the president of the Senate. Assemblymember Jim Bell was the principal co-author right from this location, probably the representative for many of you in this room. Senator Alquist at one point donated a vehicle for the bill because our bill kept dying and we needed more vehicles, and so Senator Alquist played a very key role. Richard Gordon, who's about to speak, he's here, and he voted for the bill. Paul Fong, who I also believe is here, he voted for the bill. It was really a united effort, and we need to thank all of our legislators for coming together and doing the right thing to help our community. So thank you very much. You can't imagine how much this means to the children and how much it actually will mean to the state of California in terms of a budget impact. And I know Santi has been talking about the state of the budget, and you know, this is something where the state has been having to bear the full burden of treatment for kids through the regional centers and through the school districts of kids with autism. And the insurance company had not been contributing and paying their fair share. And the legislators and the community stood together and said, the insurance company needs to pay their fair share. And these are medically necessary treatments. We appealed one case at a time, actually 150 cases, to the state, to the Department of Managed Healthcare. That's because you, families in this room, probably there's a couple of families in this room that were one of those 100 that said, I'm gonna fight the system, I'm going to appeal and assert my rights. And we helped you, and we were successful in over 90% of those cases. And that's unheard of, but that's because this was evidence-based and medically necessary, and independent doctors always made the right decisions. And we were tired of fighting one child at a time. It's not fair to the parents. You already have 24/7 jobs of taking care of your kids. You should not have to fight one child at a time. And so we passed this law, which will affect 60 to 100,000 individuals in California whose family members are affected by autism, who will be able to get this treatment. And it will make a difference on the regional center budget. It will ease that and enable more kids to get more services. It was really important to have the community united. The parents were united. The providers were united. The teachers and school districts were united. The regional centers were united. The community has to come together to get legislation like this passed. You had to mobilize the grassroots. I'm sure a number of you got phone calls. You've got to call Senator so-and-so today, Assembly Member so-and-so today. Please call your senator, your assembly member. Those phone calls are so critical. When you get the next one about the next key issue, pick up the phone and call. It's absolutely the right thing to do, and you can make a difference, every single one of you, just by making a phone call. And remember to volunteer and support the volunteers. You know, this effort, I probably spent like a full-time effort for 6 years on this job. I mean, I've thousands and thousands of hours. I'm in the process of trying to found a nonprofit to actually get some funding for this, because my husband is saying, are you kidding me? I mean, I know you're passionate about this, but we have to be able to get some money as well. The insurance companies put a huge amount of money. We did this all with passion, but we at some point need to try to figure out how to raise some funds to be able to fund this effort, because I can be insane and work all night, and Santi can be insane and work all night, but it's not fair to ask everybody, and so we need to be able to raise some money and pay some staff to fund these kind of efforts, because these are so important. And we won this big battle. There are going to be more. You know, the next thing we're working on this year is federal reform to make sure that we get to keep these benefits when the Affordable Care Act is implemented. We're in a good place right now, but that's only 2 years, and it only helps California. There are 21 states that don't have laws like California, and we need to keep helping them too, and we need to make sure we get to keep these benefits that we fought for. The last thing I just want to touch on is about the Early Start program and the Regional Center. I have a very, very fond spot in my heart for this entity. My personal regional center isn't SARC, although Santi has individually consulted with me numerous times because he cares so much about the kids, and it is such a good system. But all 3 of my kids were in Golden Gate Regional Center in the Early Start program. All 3 of them got incredible early intervention. And the thing is that none of them are Lanterman clients now, because The early start works. Early intervention works. They told me my middle son might never walk. Guess what? He walks. He's an athlete. He is a great athlete. He is fast. And that is because the regional center actually helped find him and identify him because his brother was an early start client. And Dr. Michael changed the course of my son because he got him into early start. And when I met him, he said, your son will be in my program for life, and we will take care of him for life. But early start works, and he doesn't need to take care of him for life because it actually changed the course of his whole life. And that's the one thing that we really need. To me, the hardest cut, the worst cut we faced, and Santi talked about a lot of cuts, is to the early start, the eligibility. I don't think any of my children would meet the current reduced early start eligibility criteria. And that is a shame. And that is almost criminal. And it is a very, very poor budgetary decision because instead of giving them targeted intensive intervention for the first couple years of their life and then not having the responsibility for the rest of their life, probably at least 2 of them, if not all of them, would be long-term Lanterman clients and need lifelong care. So to me, that is one of the things that we still have to unify as a community, come together, and we need to fix that because it's the right thing to do for those kids and it is the right thing to do for our budget. So with that, I will turn it over and we can continue. But thank you, everybody. This is a wonderful program and you guys are great.
She's a great inspiration for all of us. Any parent in here, you can be that drop of water that we were talking about. You can be that voice that makes a difference. So Assemblymember Richard Gordon, here we are again. He was elected in November 2010 and represents the 21st Assembly District on the San Francisco Peninsula in San Mateo and Santa Clara counties. Assemblyman Gordon chairs the Assembly's Budget Subcommittee number 3 on Resources and Transportation and is a member of the following Assembly committees. Well, some of them. Budget, Health, Local Government, Revenue and Taxation, and Joint Sunset Review. He also serves on the Budget Subcommittee on Budget Process Oversight and Program Evaluation and select committees on the status of boys and men of color in California. Let's welcome Rich Gordon, Assemblyman.
Enough is enough. I don't want to make another cut. I spent 20 years of my life running a nonprofit youth and family agency. We cared for 4,000 families a year. I didn't go to Sacramento to cut social programs. I didn't go to Sacramento to cut the benefits that people deserve and need in our communities. I didn't go to Sacramento to start to rip apart the fundamental programs that are essential to make sure that all Californians have equal opportunity. But that's what's happened. We can reverse this course. Need your help. One of the things we must do is pass a tax measure in November. That's essential. It's a piece of the puzzle. We also need to make sure that all of us continue to communicate with those who are in Sacramento, our colleagues, to make sure that they do what the delegation from this area always does. In some ways, this morning, you're preaching to the choir. Assemblymember Fong is one of your greatest advocates, and Jim Bell also. We've got a great delegation here in this region, but we need your help. We need your help to make sure that we begin to turn the tide. No more cuts. Let's start building these programs back. Let's return them and begin to reinvest in prevention as well as intervention. Enough is enough.
Thank you, Assemblymember Rich Gordon. That was powerful, nice and eloquent, straight to the point. Assemblymember Paul Fong. I've actually met him a couple years ago, and I have found him to be a really caring assembly member. He really listens and obviously has voted in our favor for things that are important to us. He grew up in Sunnyvale and was elected as the representative of the 22nd Assembly District in 2008, and his district is made up of Cupertino, Mountain View, Sunnyvale, and portions of Santa Clara County, Santa Clara, and San Jose. Assemblymember Fong is the chair of the Elections and Redistricting Committee and serves as a voting member of the Higher Education, Utilities and Commerce, and Water, Parks, and Wildlife Committees. Additionally, Assemblymember Fong serves as chair of the Select Committees on High Technology and Climate Change and Coastal Protection, and is a member of the Select Committees such as the community colleges. Let's welcome Assemblymember Paul Fong.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm honored to be here today. And I want to congratulate Sante Rogers for his leadership and his vision in leading the San Andreas Regional Center. He's done a great job. He's a model in the state, and we should be really proud of Sante and his staff. Thank you very much. You know, Alejandra came to my office and said the same thing to me that he said to you. He's a great advocate and a great lobbyist for your concerns as well. And I wanted to say that I listened to him intently, and I agreed with him intently as well. Because I'm against the $200 million cuts. I'm for sunsetting the 4.25% decrease in the COLA for the service providers. And you know, I'm on the same page as you, because I've been a social justice advocate since the early 1970s. When I was a student at De Anza College, I volunteered and founded the disabled program, co-founded it, helped out and founded that program. And that program has evolved into one of the best developmentally disabled program in the state. And so I'm really proud of my contributions as a social justice advocate and a civil rights activist. And you are part of my core values. You are in me. And so I'm with you because you're in me. And that's why I understand your issues. I also have a nephew that's an autistic nephew. He's in the 30s now, but it's because of the regional center that he's been able to integrate himself in the community fully. He works at Whole Foods store. He lives by himself. He has a roommate. And he lives by himself too, but he has a roommate. Yeah. But you know, he gets to work on his own. He does everything, and he communicates with me very well. He knows what I do. He knows all about my life. He knows about my family's life. He is fully integrated in the community, and it's because of the regional center and their work that he has become whole. And I understand that we all need to become whole. It's a civil rights that we all have, and I totally support it. You know, we have a $9 billion deficit this year. It's just been added by $2 billion more. And when it was $9 billion, I sent a note to Holly Mitchell, the chair of the subcommittee on Health and Human Services, to not cut the $200 million for the regional centers. But that's before the $2 billion came about. There's a $2 billion deficit that we have that's additional. And so we have to deal with those issues. Those are hard facts that we have to deal with. So you need to put your advocacy up a notch now, because the deficit is greater than it was before last week, because we found out we had $2 billion revenues less. And so you have to put up your advocacy a notch, and you need to really connect with the Health and Human Services Budget Subcommittee right now, the members of it, and also Holly Mitchell, who is an outstanding advocate for the most vulnerable population, as Rich Gordon is as well. And you're very fortunate to have the legislators in this area, because they are all very, very much in tune with your issues. They listen to you, they hear you, and they're all with you here. And so we're all here together, and thank you very much for having me, and I look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you.
That was 4 seconds. Pause. I want you to join me right now. Whether you're seated and stand or stand. I'd like you to stand. If you're seated, you're standing as far as I'm concerned. That must feel good to move around a little bit. I want to thank, on behalf of all our board, all of you who are here today. Every one of our speakers, let's thank them again. Our leaders, our elected officials, and their staff, let's thank them. Thank you very much. Thank you for your words. Each of our speakers today, they speak from their heart. They come from the wisdom of experience and duty, honor, and never, never sleep. The serious part about standing, I'm going to ask you to join as our brothers and sisters from Santa Cruz area last Friday in a pledge. Think about the pledge. It's your choice. The pledge is a simple pledge. This piece of civil rights law presumes a very simple thought. We leave nobody behind. We leave nobody behind. Will you pledge with me never to leave anyone behind? Will you pledge? Well, let's hear you. Yes? Yes? Yes. Thank you again. Go in peace. Be safe out there. Advocate, advocate. Oh, by the way, we'll call you, okay? Okay? Be good, be safe. Take care. Rodney, thank you.